got the Golden Ticket song stuck in my head. I haven't listened to that song in a long time. I'm not gonna sing it for you. Too bad. You probably saw the title of this video, Preacher Allegations, and you're probably wondering what in the world I'm going to talk about. This video, again, will be attempted to be shorter like the other ones, or at least in more pointed form. Before we do that, I want to inform you a little bit about today. So yesterday and earlier this week, there were two preachers who had resigned / stepped down from their pulpit for numbers of reasons, different reasons. One of them was Tony Evans from the Texas church, and another one from another Texas church, Robert Morris from Gateway. Now, I don't know your own, political views, statements there, but here's what I do know. We should be able to talk about really touchy subjects respectfully and openly. Like, those two things are very important. And when we have such a hostile environment of, oh, you can't say this, you can't talk about this, we need to be able to talk about everything. Like, if we're not talking about it now, when do we talk about it? You know what I mean? Like, it can be done respectfully, it can be done sensitively, and if you are calm, cool, and collected, like, for real, not the fake calm, cool, and collected that I see a lot of times in court cases where people get all heated and passionate. Like, we need to hear and we need to understand viewpoints that don't match our own, and at least give them time to speak. They'll give you time to speak. It's a trade-off back and forth. The point is, we should be able to talk about it. This also goes with preachers as well. Again, I don't know your backgrounds, but here's what I will say. Whether you agree or disagree, I know that me personally, at least this past year or two, I've gotten a whole lot more familiar with the Bible by both of them preaching. Now, I don't know if their misconduct, spoken or not spoken of, devalues what they're speaking about or delegitimizes that. Like, I don't know if that's the case. That's truly where I'm at. I don't know. Here is something that I was thinking about. If God only uses perfect people to speak his message and to speak what he wants to people, then he won't have anyone to speak through, because none of us are perfect. That same coin, flip it over, there was one who was perfect, and he did preach, and that's called the Bible, and that's kind of that central point there. But that said, there is no preacher out there that is perfect at all. But that also does not excuse wrong behavior. People are going to mess up. Sometimes there's natural law. Sometimes there are natural consequences to those. Sometimes there aren't so natural consequences, and that's when people have to step in. If somebody's murdering somebody, and I'm going to take that to the extreme there just to prove the point, but sometimes there are natural consequences. Sometimes there are consequences that come throughout the law and the justice system. So here's my second point. They're rough points. Bear with me. They're rough. They're not like, okay. And the second point is, it strikes me as odd to have not one but two fairly large church preachers kind of resign in the same week. Now, why does that strike me as odd? Because about 2 years-ish ago, I was going through some pretty hard things, and I started to see this pattern where something bad would happen, and I didn't want to over spiritualize it. I didn't want to, I didn't want to go to, oh, well, it's just a bad day, or this thing's just happening, or, this is life. And that's kind of where I was at. And then I started to see this pattern of, well, if one thing happens, it's just, it's unlucky. If two things happen, it's like, man, wow, woe is me. But then around three things happening, I would almost see some pattern of like, wow, this is pretty intense. And a lot of the things that were happening in my life were like spiritual warfare kind of things. And the Bible talks about the spirit world. We have this earth world around. You look around, you see the grass, the sky, the trees, people, cars, jobs, all these things that you can see with your own eyes. And then there's this other side of things you cannot see with your own eyes. But I would be willing to bet that at least 95% of you, and the 5% just being stubborn, I bet 95% of you would be able to admit that in one way, shape, or form, there is more to this world than just what we have around us as far as the spirit realm goes. You've at least thought about it. So I bring that up because as I started to see these different things happen, going boom, 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 1, 2, 3, I was seeing the pattern of just regular spiritual attacks. Now, as far as the rapture goes, nobody knows. Nobody knows these things. If they say they do, they're wrong. But it does say that we can know the time. And frankly, it has been the time since the time Jesus left all the way up until now. But a lot of the instances, a lot of the things that have happened in that time, which is a long time, 2,000 years, have only made it more likely, and it will only be more likely more time that goes on. But I say that, I bring up the rapture, not to stir up some controversy, but because I do think it's soon. I don't know how soon, and soon could be today, this week, this month, year, century, 100 years, 200, even 1,000 years is still really soon. You know, talk about a blink of an eye. Here on earth, that's like a blink of an eye compared to eternity. But I say that because I think we need to remember that Satan, the enemy, wants to stir things up, wants to cause division, controversy, just bringing up all kinds of stuff. Did both of the preachers I mentioned do something wrong? Yes, they've admitted to that. But we also have to remember, don't let that discourage us from what we're doing now. We have to remember who we're really fighting here. We're not fighting people. We're not fighting the church. There's a lot more that goes on in this world than we see, and we need to remember to direct our focus towards that. So don't direct it blindly. If you know the truth, then great. You know exactly where to look and exactly what to point to. But if you're hearing this and you're like, I don't know why I've listened this far in the video, or I have no idea what you're talking about, and you're wanting to break my ankles right now, I would challenge you to just read the Bible just by yourself. You don't have to go read it with somebody. Just take some time, just you and God's word, and just read it. Just see what's in there. So that turns me to my last point here, which is just an encouragement. Don't let these things turn you away. Don't let these things get you all angry. That doesn't help anyone or anything. You can be vocal about it. That's great. But remember, your words are important. Your words are one of the most important things you can do. One of the most impactful things you can do as a person is use your words. But anything said with fire, great passion, a lot of, that isn't gonna be received very well, because you've already lit your words on fire, and then somebody's just gonna get burned with that. So that's an encouragement. So remember, we have an enemy. Know where to point your fingers. And let's see here. I'm just gonna leave it off as that. So that said, didn't know if I was actually gonna speak on this, but hey, YOLO, right? Okay, well, I love you guys. For real. I don't know who you are, but I would tell you to your face that I do love you, and I care for you a lot more than you realize. Even as a random stranger, I care for people a whole lot. So I hope you have a fantastic day. Love you.